Loki Season 1 commits to its bizarre premise. The show, which is the latest of Disney Plus's Marvel series that are set within the interconnected continuity of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, features time travel, deceptive narrative tricks, and cosmic world-altering events that all upend our preconceived notions of what a Marvel show is capable of. The series is imaginative, witty, heartfelt, unpredictable, and creative to the point of being admittedly quite chaotic, something that the show is quite proud of. The series juggles many different high-concept science fiction and fantastical ideas, yet it never drops the ball. Unlike myself in Social Situations, the show is cool and confident with its inventive storytelling and detailed world-building, and it never compromises on its creative vision. It is focused. This is different from other Marvel shows. Marvel Studios series like WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier had interesting ideas and storytelling concepts that ultimately didn't pay off in a satisfactory manner. Sure, they contained creative narrative elements, but much like awkward college dorm coitus, they did not conclude satisfactorily. Whether it was in how WandaVision referenced classic American sitcoms through a traumatic lens, or in how The Falcon and the Winter Soldier attempted to address race, political and social divisions in America, the stories in these shows didn't live up to their initial promise. WandaVision's plot about trauma was devalued by the series' cornball hijinks, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier did not meet the moment when broaching the topic of racial identity. Despite their potential, both shows failed. Loki Season 1, however, breaks the mold. From start to finish, the show is engaging and pulls the viewer along by a thread. World-shaking events are chucked at the audience on a consistent basis, new character reveals are doled out at a tantalizing pace, there is an animated talking clock voiced by Tara Strong, and the character development and interactions are simultaneously playful yet sincere. It is overall a fun show that wins the audience over with its wry sense of humor and eccentric, morally compromised lead protagonist, and it convinces you to keep watching with its imaginative narrative. It is really good. Loki Season 1 first and foremostly has a focused story. The plot follows Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, after he steals the Tesseract in Avengers Endgame and subsequently skedaddles the hell away from potential imprisonment. During his escape, the Norse god of mischief is confronted by the Time Variance Authority, who are an authoritarian time cop-esque organization existing outside the confines of time and space that ensure every living being follows their role as assigned and preordained on the timeline, dubbed the Sacred Timeline, by the conspicuous beings called the Timekeepers. Any being that deviates from their assigned path on the Sacred Timeline is labeled a variant and is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the time law. If the TVA did not exist, these variants would interact with other people, causing them to become variants as well, and the Sacred Timeline would branch out into other delinquent timelines that would eventually snowball and cause a multiverse of war between all the different realities and timelines. This would be bad because war is bad, obviously, so instead the TVA tries to apprehend variants immediately and reset any potential altered timelines so that the timeline continues as normal. Unfortunately for Loki, he is a variant now, and after being apprehended and humbled by the TVA, he is found guilty and sentenced to be pruned. Pruning essentially deletes variants from existence, something that Loki would rather avoid. But before being deleted Cyberman style, Loki is approached by the TVA's agent Mobius and given a counteroffer. See, Mobius is searching the tides of time for a dangerous fugitive variant named Sylvie, who is a female version of Loki that is attacking and killing various TVA operatives. And seeing as Loki is a self-centered prick that knows himself inside and out, he is his own favorite person after all, Mobius is hoping to learn more personal details about Loki in order to catch Sylvie and learn what she is plotting. Chaos ensues. Loki Season 1's charm starts with its three key characters of Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie. Loki is a very fun and untrustworthy anti-hero whose mischievous deeds are fun to watch. Mobius is a serious career junkie, but does have a playfully wry sense of humor that befits Owen Wilson's comedic delivery. And Sylvie's tragic backstory is narratively engaging, and she, as a Loki variant, makes a good foil for the main character Loki variant that I will now on on referred to as Loki Prime. Additionally, some of the TVA agents like Hunter B-15 and Ravonna Renslayer have interesting and unpredictable characterizations, and several other supporting actors like Richard E. Grant and Jonathan Majors have terrific turns, but I can't say as to what those are without spoiling the show. Loki Season 1 additionally always had me hanging by a thread. The show has an undercurrent of suspense due to how Loki is untrustworthy. He is the god of mischief after all, and the show plays this up to a T. Due to the Orwellian nature of the TVA and how the organization indiscriminately vaporizes variants like one swats a fly, Loki Prime is constantly in danger, meaning that he must simultaneously prove his usefulness to the TVA, all while trying to undermine them in order to hatch his own scheme, and the resulting drama is great. The main protagonist of Loki is in constant mortal peril, which makes for some damn good television. Furthermore, the intensity of the narrative is complemented by a morbid sense of humor as well. Loki understands all too well that he can't flee from the TVA and must abide by their rules. This is funny because Loki is a character that likes to avoid his problems and disregard the authority of others. There is a clear dissonance here, and watching Loki walk the line between being respectful and rebellious is really damn funny. Sure, Loki does what he's told, but he also fires off sharp quips and tends to undermine those with power over him. He is an entertaining lead, to say the least. Loki as a character is just a lot of fun, and that's even before Sylvie and her own antics become involved with the story and further complicate matters to oftentimes humorous results. Separately, Loki and Sylvie are devious tricksters, but together they have a great dynamic where they each try to one-up each other, and as a result, the scenes with the two are electric. Seeing as they are variants of the same person, Loki and Sylvie know each other's barbs, tricks, and schemes. The two consistently try to prove that they are the superior versions of themselves, and as a result, they become endearing. They are easily the best part of the show. However, with that said, Loki Season 1 is more than just an inventive and entertaining show. The series contains a lot of food for thought. Mixing high-concept science fiction with the familiar background of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Loki Season 1 does have narrative purpose. It does have a message. And this theme is in regards to how Loki Season 1 is very gay. The show works as both a trans allegory and as an implicit transgender story. See, as stated before, one of the main characters is Sylvie, who is a female variant of Loki, and the show very much implies that she once went by the name Loki as well. When Loki Prime refers to her as Loki, Sylvie physically recoils as if she were struck by a viper, and the TVA hunts her down for deviating from the path that has been preordained for her. They try to make Sylvie comply with their rules and dictations. This storyline is very relatable to many trans people like myself. After all, we often feel hurt when people use our dead names, i.e. the names our parents gave us at birth, and we have to navigate through a culture constantly demanding that we conform to our sex assigned at birth rather than live as our true selves. Whether it is the government, our family, or other authority figures, think churches, schools, and specific social situations, society compels us to perform as our gender assigned at birth rather than live free. A designation many of us eventually rebel against because living an inauthentic life sucks. Sylvie as a character reflects this both literally and metaphorically. While Sylvie's nexus event, i.e. the event that caused her to become a variant, is never properly explained, Sylvie is implied to have become a Loki variant after she changed her body to become her true self. In other words, she became a variant when she transformed herself into a girl, and the TVA could not abide this change. After changing her gender, the authoritarian-esque government agency essentially becomes the gender police in regards to Sylvie. The TVA dead names her whenever they refer to her as a Loki, and they deign Sylvie as being a deviant variant in needing of being disposed of, instead of viewing her as her own person with her own unique identity. Very much like real-world governments, non-accepting families, or other authority figures, the TVA demands Sylvie to act within her assigned path. They demand that she act like a Loki. Sylvie rightfully gives this notion the middle finger. Like trans people in the real world, Sylvie does not live an existence that the world assigned to her. Instead, she lives the path she chooses, as befits any variant of Loki. Even though the TVA wrongfully litigates her existence, God, that's relatable, Sylvie commits radical action and lives authentically. She is free to be the gender she identifies with. Loki Season 1's greatness is in large part part due to its queer themes. Most big-budget movies and TV shows shy away from transgender storylines and queer romances. Hell, Marvel Studios has been criticized a lot in the past for its portrayal of queer characters, or lack thereof. Yet, Loki Season 1 is different. Out of almost 30 MCU adventures, the show at last delivers a strong gay character who is explicitly queer in the text and features a story that narratively and thematically represents queer identity. And that is to say nothing of Loki Prime himself, who is explicitly made to be bisexual. More than just being a breath of fresh air, Disney and Marvel did the unthinkable. They committed to portraying a queer character, and they did so successfully. Admittedly, Loki Season 1 has a few imperfections. As great as Sophia DiMartino is, I wish that Sylvie was played by a trans woman, because Sylvie is trans. Trans characters should be played by trans actors, and there is no exception here. Sorry. Furthermore, the ending is a little suspect. While sure, the conclusion is good and emphasizes the narrative stakes without the need for a final battle, which is a real rarity for an MCU adventure, it does leave the viewer off on a brutal cliffhanger that won't be resolved until Season 2, at minimum. But with that being said, Loki Season 1 is a terrific show that commits to its concept and the awesome characters within it. While it has some great performances by Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, Sophia DiMartino, and others, the science fiction oddball concept of bureaucratic time cops is creative, and some of the cinematography is next level, Loki Season 1 puts faith in the power of its characters and their respective journeys, and as a result, the first season is among the most creative MCU adventures yet. It delivers some terrific characterizations, a fully realized world, and representation to an underrepresented community, and the show does all of this with a devilishly playful smile. With Loki Season 1, the God of Mischief would truly be proud. And with that was another video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like rating and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell so that you're notified for whenever I release a new video. Also leave a comment telling me what you thought of Loki Season 1 or the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. Additionally, please consider donating to my Patreon page. Every little bit helps to keep the show going. The link is in the description. And speaking of Patreon, I just want to thank my high tier patrons and David Devlin and Mom. Thank you so much for supporting what I do. Love y'all.